Why do female gamers play as Mercy in Overwatch? Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I'm here today to answer the age-old gaming question of why exactly so many female gamers end up playing mainly as Mercy in the game Overwatch, which, by the way, I have been completely obsessed with, and you can find me playing on the PlayStation Network. First things first, as I am not normally a gaming channel, I need to clarify what Overwatch is and who Mercy is within the game and fandom. Overwatch is a semi-realistic but rather cartoonish first-person shooter science fiction type game where you play as a team of 6 characters fighting against another team of 6 characters. Instead of merely killing everybody on the other team to achieve a victory, you have to compete over various objectives and force the other team away from the designated area that you are trying to capture. In this game, everybody on your team can expect to die numerous times in any given game, even if you win. Dying is only a temporary setback, but dying a lot means that you lose. In the lore of the game, the character Mercy is basically an angel type character who is a nanobiologist, and in the gameplay, she is the most powerful healer, though she is lacking when it comes to direct attacking capabilities. Although she can heal damage away from her teammates the quickest out of any healer, she has to trade out her healing wand for a gun if she wants to defend herself against somebody that is trying to kill her. She's also very hard to kill as she automatically heals herself at all times. Mercy is easily the most valuable character on any team, as she can not only heal other characters, but she can actually resurrect her teammates after they die. So if you have the opportunity to kill one character on the other team and one character only, people tend to come after Mercy. My main character is Sombra, the hacker that can turn invisible, and nothing makes me happier than assassinating the other team's Mercy after I ran behind their defenses while I was invisible. Now, before I begin, I want to preface that the takeaway message of this video should be that nobody should belittle females for enjoying playing as Mercy if that's legitimately what they enjoy. And I think that the reasons behind that should be clear by the end of this video. But I feel a need to state that at the beginning so that people know my stance. So, to answer the cliche of a question, why do chicks always play as Mercy? Well, they don't. And if you find yourself in a game with a female that you don't know and you assume that you can demand that she play as Mercy simply because she's female so that she can heal you while you play as your preferred character, then you're a sexist moron that probably isn't any good at the game anyway. You see, anybody good at the game can play at least one healer. I use Zenyatta. But more than that, females don't always play as healers. Just last night, I was playing with a female for a number of games on competitive mode who seemed to use D.Va as her main character, and we won a bunch of games and she was really good. Some people might say, as a response to that, well, D.Va is also a female character in the game, because she's technically a small woman that happens to ride around in a mecha suit. But I think that that's rather irrelevant because as a playable character, she's by far one of the most aggressive characters in the game. Good for charging after people on the front lines and doing massive damage. More so, I have played with females who mainly used Junkrat, who is arguably the most masculine character in the entire game, both in appearance and in usability, as he specializes in aggressively blowing stuff up. And I've even played with women who were incredibly versatile and could play everybody from Bastion to Soldier 76 to, of course, Mercy. Still, despite the fact that the person I play with the most, who plays as Mercy, happens to be a straight male, and despite the fact that there are several awesome female characters to choose from in Overwatch, It is definitely true that there's a massive amount of female gamers that play mainly as Mercy, to the point where it's not just a stereotype, but it has some truth to it. I was playing with some guys that were quite good, and we wanted to play competitively, but we only had 5 characters, and nobody who was particularly good at Mercy was playing with us. One of them said, as a joke, "Doesn't somebody have a sister around that we can get to play Mercy for us?" Though likely he was only half joking. So why is this the case? Why do people assume females to be good at playing Mercy? Well, there is one semi-decent video about this subject made by a YouTube personality by the name of Sael. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, who makes a lot of good points about real-life females having a high aptitude for agreeableness and thus wanting to play as a healing support character to please the team. I think that there's definitely truth to that. However, being that this person based their video around findings from what sounded like a feminist paper that was posted on Reddit, I figured I needed to weigh in and pick apart the argument, as subscribers to my channel know that I am very much a critic of feminist ideas. The argument that Sael presented in his video was basically that female gaming habits are socially constructed and have to do with the fact that video games were traditionally marketed to be basically exclusively for boys, consisting almost entirely of male characters in the lore and consisting of gameplay that was shooting, slashing, kicking, and punching. Thus, when Overwatch came onto the scene, which is a game that is fundamentally based around teamwork, females gravitated towards supportive healing characters like Mercy, who takes care of the attackers like Doomfist and McCree, the shield tanks like Orisa and Reinhardt, and all of the defense heroes like Mei and Torbjorn. The feminist-sounding argument presented by this YouTuber is that females are socially conditioned to be agreeable, and also that they tend not to want to play as attacking characters because they tend not to have a lot of experience with first-person shooters, as those tended to be marketed to be for boys. So instead of trying to play all of the characters to see what fits, they play as Mercy to make their team happy. And this part of the argument I don't entirely agree with. So why do I think that female gamers commonly play as Mercy? Well, the first thing that I need to absolutely clarify yet again is that I am using the word commonly and not always, because I am speaking in terms of generalities, to which there are always countless exceptions to these rules. My best Mercy friend is a straight guy. Remember, still, where I think the feminist argument runs awry in this case is rather emblematic of how feminist arguments about gender differences run awry in general, which is that feminists almost always claim that behavioral differences between men and women are forced upon us and not the product of individuals' actual choices. Feminists often claim that the general differences between males and females in their habits of work, study, and even gaming are not actually the product of separate individuals' choices and habits at all, but rather the result of social conditioning from the ever-present patriarchy, which is, allegedly, a usually subconscious but completely omnipotent force that permeates all of society, which demands that all women see themselves as the servants of men. According to feminist theory, women don't actually enjoy being nurturing, ever, any more than men do, but they are tricked into thinking that they do. Now, granted, there is, of course, truth to the notion that some women do feel obligated to take care of men, often even when they don't particularly feel like it, But the problem with this feminist argument, which claims that women only take on certain roles because they are pressured, is that it robs the individual women that genuinely enjoy caretaking roles in both society and in gaming of having any individual agency, as the feminists who make this argument are acting like the women that make these choices didn't make the correct choice about how they want to live their lives. When feminists make this argument, feminist critics like myself ask, what if the woman legitimately likes being a veterinarian, a teacher, or even a, gasp, housewife? You see, statistically, in the real world, even young women that always did quite well in science and mathematics in high school are much more likely to go on to study psychology or medicine at university than they are to study engineering or computer science, despite these things being less financially lucrative fields. And this is due to the fact that females, on average, tend to make different choices than males. And why do women make these choices? Well, it turns out that there is a high component of biology that comes into play. When James Damore wrote the memo for Google that ended up getting him fired from the company for supposed harmful gender stereotypes, a happening which consequentially made him into a martyr-type hero on the internet, when he did this, in the paper, he actually addressed these issues very well. So I encourage people who never read his memo to actually find the full text of it and read all 10 pages, if you haven't already. Having studied biology a great deal, and also a bit of social psychology, James was able to cite, using scientific research, some reasons as to why Google might have a diversity problem when it comes to male and female employees. And he even offered some helpful solutions about how exactly Google might recruit more willing female employees. James noted that females are, in fact, more agreeable than men, on average, for whatever reason that he cited in his paper, which more than probably has a major component in evolutionary biology. And also, he noted that females tend to be good at teamwork and working socially, as opposed to men who often tend to be better at working by themselves with objects and on other such projects. This likelihood of working with objects as opposed to people in men can be directly attributed to individuals that were subject to prenatal testosterone, which could easily be said to be one of the reasons that video games were marketed towards boys to begin with, as early video games simply did not have the high-level social component of games like Overwatch. And so, speaking of Overwatch, what we're looking at is a game where 6 people can sit around for hours and hours on end, working together, talking to each other in between games, killing the other team, gloating about it to each other while the other team can't hear you, and helping out your teammates when they are in a jam or need healing. So why do female gamers tend to play as Mercy, the most powerful healer? You're still asking? I think that might not be the most important question. I think a better question would be, why do so many female gamers love Overwatch to begin with? And I think, personally, that it's that very social dynamic that likely attracts female gamers to this game. Furthermore, I also think that it's very likely that the game developers were aware that this was going to be a game that a lot of females would theoretically enjoy, which is why they designed several female characters to play as, instead of a few token Chun-Lis and Princess Peaches. Still, I don't think that the existence of female characters in the game is what draws females to playing. I think that it's mostly the teamwork aspect of it that really makes this game fun for women and girls. even some women and girls that might not normally enjoy video games much at all. And thus, you look at Mercy, the beautiful healing angel that generally doesn't attack unless to defend herself, and you ask why female gamers often play as her. And I think the answer is fairly simple. Sure, a lot of females end up playing as Mercy, but maybe it's because that type of gaming is often the only gaming that they really enjoy at all. Maybe they actually enjoy helping their teammates and being the most vital character on the team. Who knows how this started in terms of every individual origin story of why so many female Mercy mains came into existence. Maybe the individual is a young girl who watched her brother play and she eventually realized that it looked kind of fun to help out her brother. Kind of like the guy I was playing with said as a joke. Maybe a lot of females end up playing as Mercy to spend time with their boyfriends. Or even more than that, maybe there are single females out there that don't have brothers who realized that they can play video games socially for personal interactions, and they happened to enjoy playing as a support character, not because they were pressured, but because they like it. This obviously would sound sexist to some people because it sounds like I'm saying that the only reason females would play video games is because their brother begged them to, they wanted to spend time with their boyfriend, or because they were lonely and unattractive or something. But that's not true, because I've explicitly said that I know females that play as D.Va, Junkrat, or anybody. Rather, what I am saying is that we can come up with a logical explanation about why exactly there are so many females that play as Mercy. That still allows for the notion that the women who are playing as Mercy do, in fact, actually really enjoy playing as Mercy. And it is their empowered female choice to do so. Just because their boyfriend or brother pressured them into playing at first doesn't mean that it isn't their choice to continue playing. Conversely, I'm sure there are all sorts of men who have been pressured into taking dance classes by their girlfriends, and then they enjoyed it and kept taking them. Neither are bad things. So sure, yes, again, for the millionth time, there are plenty of female gamers who like playing as aggressive characters anyway and who didn't need to be pressured by anybody to do so. And if you are a female that likes games, you can bet that if you are playing with the vast majority of Overwatch players, as long as you are good at the game, you will be more than welcome on the team and you won't get shit unless you are playing with shitty teammates. Also, if you are playing as Mercy, you can expect the guys on your team to be protective of you if anybody is trying to kill you, because duh, you heal them and can resurrect them if they die. Though I've also heard people complain about Mercy's not healing enough because gamers do have a tendency to whine when they are losing. Regardless, I'll end this video by saying that Overwatch is probably my favorite game of all time. The characters are super interesting and fun, and most of all, the fans and community that form around this game is full of incredibly nice people that, due to the complicated dynamics of the teamwork within the game, end up becoming sincere friends with each other. And so, I encourage every person of every gender that has access to playing this game to try it out. Because even if you've almost never enjoyed a first-person shooter all that much, like I hadn't prior to this game, you might love it. And if Overwatch wants to pay me for advertising their game, there's a link to options regarding how to do that in this video's description. That's all. Stay tuned.